Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dead Feature Rant, episode 10. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of cool stuff that we've seen and it's been talked about a bit in the past week or so. I'm going to start with a few awesome things like Flavorly's hard boiled ham hocks. After I introduce myself, I am Legendary Neurotoxin, coming at you here as I am every week with Dead Feature Rant as well as Live Feature Rant and Castles and Crapshack, which are landmark specific shows, as well as Procedural Powerhouses, which is specific to procedurally generated games, and that's on the Saturdays. And every day, of course, I do Unity Daily, 2 hours a day, as I continue to develop. I just got a little bit of functionality going for dual input shooter stuff, so should be going pretty good here. By this time next week, I might actually have something kind of playable. So that should be pretty cool. Anyhow, so what's going on in the world of H1Z1? On Tuesday, there was the Greg and Clegg stream, or Clegg and Greg. I'm pretty sure it's Greg and Clegg. And they were kind of showing off, working on feature implementation. They were setting up some sort of gas station-y looking place, getting feedback here and there about wall height for some parts of it and how the different parts should go, and even getting told to go look up some stuff that had already been fixed and worked on by someone who just didn't quite see it. So, yeah, there was a lot of really good stuff there. Talked about a lot of awesome things. They talked about rabbits and ravens as being animals that are going to be in the game. We already know there's the bears, and they actually want to have bears buy early access. Rabbits and ravens, unknown, probably sometime during early access. Likely other animals as well. But I really like that. That's adding more to the food chain. That's adding more non-zombie creatures out there in the world. I'm going to put it out there right now. Bears don't give fucks. They don't give a fuck. They don't give fucks. They don't give a shit in the woods. They don't give a shit, period. They're bears. They're just giant beasts of fleshy armor and muscle and nasty claws that can just rip a car to pieces. So, if you think of how powerful bears actually are, even a young bear is pretty dangerous. They're just going to be able to tear zombies to pieces. I don't know. It would take a hell of a lot of zombies to be able to actually really be able to get through and take a bear down. Yeah. So, in terms of the food chain, I think humans and bears are going to be kind of even early on, and once players actually start establishing their stuff, bears are going to be like that kind of epic mob out there. It's like, yeah, you're getting chased by zombies, but as soon as you hear that bear roaring, you're like, fuck, no. Bears as pets, bears as mounts, yeah. I don't know what we'll be able to do to tame or work with bears, to be perfectly honest. They're bears. There's not that much, it'd take a lot of resources and a lot of effort to really be able to, I guess, get them in a position where you'd be able to use a bear as a tool, short of just building a wall that's taller than the bear can climb, and the only way you can get in or out is with a vehicle ramp or something. Um, and just having a bunch of bears around the perimeter feasting, because they know there's going to be food all around and all sorts of people coming trying to attack. But it's going to be hard to keep them in one place too, and I don't know how much they're going to want to stay around when there's zombies abound. I don't know if they'll stay and fight or if they'll get going. Hey, what's up, Daddy-O? And Ferrioto, and of course H1Z1 Jane, who's been hanging out here in chat. If anybody doesn't already follow H1Z1 Jane on Twitter, that is one awesome person to follow. They've been really, really entertaining with the zombie commentary throughout the process here, as well as the concept art they've been working on. Pretty cool. Yeah. By the way, I saw that boot that you were working on, H1Z1 Jane. Do you have more follow-up on that art, or is that kind of where it's at still for right now? Because I'd love to see where that's going. Anyway, So bears are going to be a big deal. So now let's talk about rabbits. So I guess maybe rabbits will do the same function of squirrels as being the little running torches. I would imagine the traps. I think right now there's actually a trap item that you can build and put down. Even though there aren't rabbits in the world, you just come back after an hour or something, and it'll have rabbits in it. So there's the interactable item that you can have and trap in there. Um, it'll be kicking a zombie's face. Nice. But I think that's something that they will be building up for, so that you can actually place rabbit traps out in the wild in places where rabbits will logically go through, and just come by every now and then and pick them up and hope that they're not too dead by the time you get to them, so that way they're not infected meat. Um, but I would also maybe think about surrounding those in barbed wire to some small radius, because I would imagine if you've got a cage with bunnies in it, eventually some hungry zombie is going to find warm flesh and come after it. So that might be one of the reasons why people usually keep those sorts of things towards their camp rather than just out in the wilderness. And ravens are going to be interesting because they're kind of big birds. They're kind of mean. They're kind of tough. So they're pretty well suited for this environment, to be perfectly honest. Even though zombies are able to kind of fight them off and fend them off for the most part, that doesn't mean a group of them won't take an opportunity at one straggler. Of course, that might be anything, zombie or human or any creature. Um, I'd imagine they're going to eat well. They're probably going to do a good job of picking up rabbits and stuff along the way, and just picking up any sorts of scraps and carrion and stuff that they can find. Um, Actually, that's the thing. Unfortunately, I'm not as much of an ornithologist, so I really don't know about ravens as well with their practice. Oh yeah, bow and arrow practice with ravens. That's and that would actually be a pretty decent source of food. You'd be able to potentially hunt them within the walls of your base, even if no other creature is able to get in. You can at least be eating barbecued raven every night, I guess. So that should be really interesting, seeing what kind of wildlife we're going to be seeing in the game. Um, just this early stuff, it's going to expand the food chain dynamically. It's going to make things completely different than what we've already seen up to this point. Um, we'll pick corpses, yeah, maybe. That's a good question because I don't know if the virus or parasite or whatever H1Z1 is something that stays in the body and just lays dormant or doesn't really do anything, or if it's something that would fully pass through their body and wouldn't really be an issue one way or another, or if they could actually get infected. Wolves seem to go after zombies, so I don't know if they get sustained from it or if they just eat it and poop it out. So, no, of course I'm wearing my SOE Life shirt. I guess the camera's panned up a little so you can't see it as well. But I'm going to be back for the third time as a panelist. Every SOE Live so far, since they changed the name, I've been a panelist. This is a three-peat for me, so I'm really happy about that. I'm really proud of that. And this one is actually going to be called Live Together, Die Alone, Surviving H1Z1 as a Group. Senor Blanco and I are going to be doing a presentation on really the finer points of how to, first of all, why a group versus solo? What's it going to do for you to be with a group versus how's life going to be like if you're just solo everywhere? If you listen to Survivor Radio, there was that one girl who was able to kind of get along with a firearm and just trying to stay away from people, but You can't really do that for too long. For the most part, our presenter for that whole radio broadcast, Double D, he wasn't solo the entire time. He would go from group to group. There were definitely stretches where he'd kind of brave it alone, but for the most part, he definitely needed different groups to trade with and interact with and get himself, back on track. So, and of course, to learn from those groups. So, I can definitely see that sort of thing going on. People moving from group to group, being kind of solo, but not really being a true lone wolf, just trying to live off the land and scavenge and survive. Because eventually something's going to happen, and there's going to be a group of either bandits or zombies or some sort of wildlife out there that's just it's hungering for you, or you just happen to be in the most opportune location when the rain starts coming down. So that's why groups really are going to be a big deal. It's going to be the major part of how we can survive much longer, much better. Being able to build up walls, raise a farm, convert the corn into ethanol by distilling it, fermenting and distilling it, and actually being able to have vehicles you can bring that back there, repair and maintain, fuel up, and use for whatever tasks around the area. That's not something that you can do solo. No, 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 no. Not in your wildest dreams. This ain't that kind of game. So that's really one of the big reasons why being in a group and understanding either what kind of group you're looking for and how to join that group and how to approach them and how to be meaningful in that group, as well as if you're looking to start a group, what to look for, what to do, understanding the scope and scale of what you're going to be trying to do with that group, whether it's just a short little group that you've formed just to hide out and survive for a little bit, or if you're looking to form the next new civilization in H1Z1. So there's definitely a lot to it, and it should be a really good panel. Hopefully we'll be able to broadcast it live. If not that, then the next best, hopefully be able to record it. And then, of course, if not that, well, maybe we'll do a redo of the entire presentation live on a Dead Feature Rant at some point. Hopefully we'll be able to do it live and be able to get it in one shot there, because it should be a really good presentation. So that's some other news going on my end. So how about them hard-boiled ham hocks from Flavorly? Has anybody tried any of those? I didn't really know ham hocks were supposed to be hard boiled. I don't know. I not much of a ham hock person, I guess, but Flavorly's has got it down. So the developer broadcast, I had mentioned it earlier over on the H1Z1 official channel, had some really fun stuff. Clegg and Greg were going through some very entertaining sign names that they'd come up with. There is Dirty Deeds Disposal, which has double D on it, which is also kind of funny. The Hardee's star sign, Hardee's or Carl's Jr. That was definitely what they modeled the logo for Flavorly's after. Very well done. It looks kind of like unhappy, like kind of pissed off even, or sinister, compared to the logo from which they're making fun. And honestly, it's really well done. There are a few other ones. There's Clegg sandwiches with, I think it was a big old cheese wheel on it. And then the chat started talking about Clegg's cheese. Clegg's Legs, that was the name for a strip club. People were saying, he's already got a sandwich joint. He doesn't need two places. The Clegg conglomerate. I mean, unless you actually want to have that as part of the story, the Clegg family of podunk America, yeah. So they've actually got a thread going for people to suggest names. I put up a few. There's another one I came up with recently. They actually, I think they liked it. I know Greg gave it a favorite. It was Bacteria, Bacteria, a ergonomic furniture store. Um, I don't know where the artist would go with that one, or if they're going to model it after something or make a unique art. I don't know if they're just going for spoofs and parodies of things that already exist, or if they're going with original stuff like Clegg's as well. But that would be, I think, a pretty funny one because infections, bacteria. It's a play on words. I feel like it would fit in the environment, but maybe I'm just trying to sell it a little too hard here. Oh, Chrome Cheapo. That was or no Chrome. What was it? Chrome Hepo, the hardware store that they were joking about. I can't remember if they actually determined a name for it. I said Chrome Cheapo. Um, I don't know. It has a nice ring to it, but that's my opinion. Uh, so they were working on designing a gas station looking place in, well, actually this little kind of settlement area itself, but mostly this. I remember a lot of the work on the gas station section, and they're trying to figure out like how far to position everything, and where everything would go, how many cars should be parked there, and how far apart the parking spaces should be. And that was actually, it's a really fun process to watch. And those two are just, they're a riot. Greg and Clegg are just absolutely hilarious. They just pull obscure references out of all sorts of whatever places. There is a random My Cousin Vinny reference. They broke into the Magic Carpet song from Aladdin with some different words for a moment. My goodness, those guys are just a couple of nuts. So definitely watch that. Tune in when they do their work in progress streams. Like I said, the last one was on Tuesday. It's on the channel. You can find the recording. Check it out. Watch it. Enjoy it. It's pretty fun stuff, and you get a chance to see a bit more of the process. And to be honest, chat wasn't nearly as bad as it had been in some of the previous broadcasts. We were actually able to communicate some stuff that wasn't just the consensus of spam for the most part. So that was pretty cool. Oh my goodness, there was so much stuff that so many other signs. They have a bunch of signs I guess didn't even know about. They had a one for like a rest stop ahead. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, those, I think those were the ones that I posted, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, Chinese food is everywhere in the United States. It's actually the most widespread, that like the of all restaurants, Chinese food is the highest percentage of the ones out there. So it makes sense, and we've traveled all across the United States in various different places before, and every city, big and small, there's Chinese restaurants. So that's kind of why I went with those ones. And Panda Moon, I was kind of going for like Panda Bowl, but instead it's a panda mooning you because that's funny, right? Isn't it? But we'll see what they come up with and what they do. There were a lot of great ones from the audience. The strip clubs in particular, that was one that they had asked for, was any various names for strip clubs. uh, Brazil is fuck. Interesting. Panda Rump. Oh yeah, that'd be a pretty good one too. Or are you talking about for strip club names? Raphael, if you don't have anything more engaging to say, I might have to get you out of the channel here. Anyway, so and wall height was something that was asked about at some point for how to how to build up, like how tall the wall should be around the gas station itself. And some people said no wall. Well, one person said no wall. Some people were saying waist high, shoulder high, head high. None of them are necessarily wrong. For a community like this, it seems like waist high would make sense. Yeah, JT. Yeah. Some shenanigans happened. Some folks had some bad ham hocks from Flavorly's. Yeah, dude, you're just a spam bot. You get the hell out of here. Anyway, yeah. So, like I was saying, uh, actually, no, I was just saying about the wall height. I'm pretty sure I was finished talking about that subject. So maps. Maps were a subject that came up. And that started a big old discussion because they asked for us to give them our input on maps and what we want to see for maps and how we'd like to see them implemented in the game. And it turns out everybody has diversely different opinions on the whole map thing. It was a giant discussion, it turns out. So I will post the link to it here so you folks can check it out yourselves. And it's, I kind of took from the conversation that they were saying and extrapolated it so that way we could just start discussing. And maybe I should have left it a little bit more generic, because I think people were focusing on the should we start with the map, do we fill it in, or does it auto update, and can we take a dead player's map. Those are kind of the some of the big features that need to be discussed, but I'm sure there are some other ones that I might have left out. A lot of people have suggested some other things, but a lot of the discussion appears like it was focused on those three kind of main questions in particular. I like personally the idea of either starting with the map, just a general, I'm not going to say low resolution, but like a general map of the area, just a one big page that kind of shows the general area without very much specificity. And there is the ability to draw a map along the way of a smaller resolution, or otherwise, if you do start with no map, then you would just have to draw it along the way. But I really like the idea of you keep your map when you die, so that way people aren't just going out of game to record their maps, that they're not using some third party outside sort of thing, so that way they don't lose their progress when they die. But at the same time, the advantage that comes from it is that you can then have both the looted version off of your corpse as well as the version that you own in particular. So the stuff that you had on your map previously can still be found by someone else out there, but maybe there's some limitation, like they can record everything they want that they see on it once, and then they throw it away so it can't be copied from again. Or maybe there'd be various overlays. There's a lot of honestly, there's a lot of stuff that can be discussed with it. It's a really big discussion. Water. Water is going to be a really important stat in the game, or attribute, I should say. Well, whatever it is. Keeping food and water up is going to be pretty important in the game, for sure. Especially to do so in such a way that you don't get some sort of weird infection from it. So, let's see. I mean, that was really most of the stuff that I was looking to talk about today here. There's maybe a little bit more to discuss, but oh, of course, snow. I didn't even talk about snow yet. Snow is being shown off. Snow is quite interesting because we've already seen rain and we've seen what that does to the world, how it affects it, and that just kind of saturates things, makes everything muddy, makes everything really gray and dark. Um, so it's really effective for not only kind of setting this mood, but it actually is going to be a real big hindrance. It's going to put fires out. It might affect your stamina, making it drain a lot quicker if you don't have proper attire for the rain. Yeah, I bet you do. Um, so I mean, rain is going to have a lot of effects to it, but snow is going to be a completely different beast. For snow to even be falling, that means it needs to be cold enough. And from the little Vine clip that Clegg posted, it goes from not snow to snow everywhere pretty quickly. It's probably not going to be that fast of a rate of depositing in the world. Yeah, they've said rain's going to put out fires. I don't know if it'll put out a torch necessarily because that's a fire that's got burning oil going. It's a little bit different versus if you just got wood logs burning. Yeah, there's a good chance that the heavy rain will put that out. It's not like a light drizzle. It's not like a one of those rainy days where everybody still drives to work and it's no big deal. This is like every time I've seen it rain in that game, it's freaking torrential downpour. It's pretty monstrous. Hey there, Alex kid. And let's see. Solidified snow as a building material. Yeah, that would be great. Not necessarily a debate stream. It's more ranting about features, kind of stuff that we want to see in the game, what's been talked about, what's already going into the game. Usually I have guests on, and some of the folks who normally come on as guests are actually hanging out here in chat. So we're I've already kind of covered the major subjects for the day. We're just kind of getting through snow right now, and then yeah, it's probably going to be some amount of discussion and debate and Q&A and that sort of stuff for a little bit till we wrap it up. Might even wrap it up a little bit early today. We'll see. Not much in between the fog and the rain at the moment. Actually, there is a big difference because fog, while it occludes your vision in the distance, it doesn't actually have much of any other effect. I don't really know if it affects your stamina. In fact, that might be one of the more ideal situations. Yeah, there's no release date for early access. I wish we knew when it was, and there's a good chance it's going to be before SOE Live, but there's no specific information that I can quote to say yes or no on that. So chances are, if we don't, this is what I have been saying for the past little bit. If we aren't already in early access before SOE Live, they'll let us know at SOE Live when early access is going to start. Mark my words on this one. Haven't just seen it drizzle? Yeah. Well, I mean, you can set the rain to a threshold. I was able to set it to zero point 0.5 instead of 1.0. If you were to set the rain to 0.5 or a really small number, it probably would just be a really light drizzle. And I don't know what it would actually look like. I hope it would actually have smaller water particles falling and splashing and everything, rather than having the same size of rain particles just coming down in slower paces, slower iterations, I should say, slower timing. Snow. So snow is going to be an interesting one. We've already seen it coats the world white. It makes it really easy to see anything that's not white that's moving because the snow is going to shake off. Meanwhile, everything's going to be coated with this nice layer. It's going to probably really hammer your stamina, possibly food and water as well if you don't have proper attire. It might even affect your health if you don't have proper attire. So that will be a good good thing to see. How does it affect running? Not really sure. I don't know if we've seen any of that yet. I'm hoping that the layers of deposition will actually have different layers of effect on running. Right now, we've just kind of seen the surface get coated a little bit, but we don't really see it, actually building up and then getting compressed by anything. I don't know if those mechanics are coming or not either. Yeah, it makes tracking humans easier for sure. Blizzards that impair vision almost completely. Yeah, that's definitely possible. It seems like this isn't one of those places in America where just about any sort of weather can come through. Anything from thunderstorms, lightning storms to hurricanes or tornadoes or both. Could even have earthquakes. It could be one of those random places that has a little volcano trying to pop up under it. Um, so this could be a place that is the Sim City of natural disasters. Just everything can happen there. So yeah, blizzards wouldn't rule those out. Floods wouldn't rule those out. Droughts wouldn't rule those out. Extreme heat. Um, like I said, earthquakes wouldn't rule those out. It's not super flat. It's hilly enough that there could definitely be earthquakes there. Yeah, weather in PlanetSide 2 is supposed to affect traction and stuff when it goes in. Route 14, check where that is. So the game goes on along Route 14. That's interesting because that really isn't where Double D was hanging around. He was more in like the far the eastern areas, if I remember correctly. So that's kind of a ways away a bit. Hmm. That's interesting. Good to know. That's why your Arts Incorporated. Well, you're smart. You definitely know what you're doing with that stuff. Alright. So, yeah, snow, the effects of snow, sheltering for snow. Um, will it affect zombies? Do zombies get cold enough that they'll actually freeze? Certainly, if it gets cold enough, um, any sort of kind of fleshy tissue will eventually get cold enough and freeze if it doesn't have enough insulation, enough heat. So if it actually, gets temperature cold enough, not just cold enough to snow, but really gets way down there, -30 with a wind chill of -50 or something. Yeah, I could see those zombies freezing in place and snapping in half as they go along. That could actually be one of the like some sort of an event that gives players a little bit of respite from zombies for a little while, or at least um, maybe that's how they get rid of one weaker type of zombie earlier on that they then replace. It's like, oh yeah, now that those zombies don't have aren't there to compete anymore, the next the more well acclimated, tougher zombies that actually survived, those are the ones that are infecting everybody. And difficulty up. Good luck, folks. Doubt it's going to affect them much, possibly slow them down. I mean, it's you get something cold enough, you get the likeness of human flesh or mammal flesh in general cold enough, and it starts to get kind of brittle, and the cells start to rupture as the water starts to freeze, and that sort of stuff. Just even the like frostbite and that sort of damage. Yeah, and I overheating is another one. I could definitely see them getting dehydrated if they aren't exposed to enough water over a certain period of time. This real like papery looking zombie walking around probably wouldn't be very strong anymore. Don't think they're going to go anywhere close to that level of realism. We'll see. We'll see how they do with that, because this is, of all of the SOE games, I think this is the first one that's really trying to take like actual trying to live and survive in these harsh conditions in a into consideration. PlanetSide 2, you go from snow to desert wearing the exact same armor, no difference, using the exact same vehicles. They don't overheat. I'm pretty sure in PlanetSide 2, the way the technology developed wasn't that things were more badass or more powerful, but that they made all of the equipment more reliable and more comfortable. So you can use it in any environment and it's not going to break down. But the sacrifice for that is that this stuff is really weak. Can't even bust through trees. At least in H1Z1 you can chop trees down. Zombies go from seeking brains to hot chocolate. Nice. Gonna focus more on people surviving, not much the zombies surviving. Well, they don't have to worry as much about the zombies surviving because the zombies are going to be, generated and sent in at a probably regular intervals. Oh yes, Jane. Oh my goodness. Oh. If only one time, if they only did that one time, sometime during early access, just for fun, I would be all over that. Hell yes. Zombies have their own AI. They will be roaming. They will be eating. They will be getting stronger. That's true. Is it actually confirmed that they're actually eating? That they actually stop and feast before they move on? I'm still not sure if they've clarified on that one. Yes, yes, or Liberator. Uh, yeah, I'm really hoping the zombies are at least heavily impacted by extreme cold. If it doesn't, if it isn't able to potentially outright kill them if they're weak enough and exposed to it enough. But at the same time, I don't know if they actually have the AI to seek shelter, or if they're seeking anything that's warmer than the situation that they're in, and they just happen to bust through doors and windows and such in that way. We've seen the eating animations. Alright, cool deal. Yeah, it's confirmed they get stronger. Good deal. Okay. So I could see some of the weaker ones maybe being killed off, and the stronger ones having no problem. Um, I don't know what's going to determine how a zombie gets more powerful, what being more powerful means, if it's visually represented, or really how that's all going to work. So that should be really interesting to find out too. Building it much better than the forest and closer to 7 Days to Die. I honestly haven't seen as much 7 Days to Die. In the forest, it seems like you're building a lot of walls, not a lot of roofs, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, yeah. Well, that's kind of the thing, JT. If they actually, they're using thermal senses or whatever, they're doing what they can to try to get away from this cold that's harming them, because it's just nondescript cold. They're just gonna try to get away from it somehow. So I could see them potentially actually trying to go for cover themselves. Variants of zombies, yep. Yeah, building is definitely looking pretty good so far, Farioto. I mean, actually, the first thing you have to do is you have to get a ground tamper and just tamp down the ground, which is probably going to drain a lot of stamina for one person to do. So if you're actually planning to do something like that, you either find a place that was already tamped down, or you and a group of people kind of take turns with it while the other people kind of patrol the area for any zombies that might have gotten excited by the sound and percussion of the ground being smacked multiple times by a big metal plate attached to a metal pole. Because that's basically what the ground tamper is. So once you've tamped down the ground, then you can start building up the foundation. You can start building up whatever you're actually going to have there. You put up the walls. You can put up. There's some kind of two-story buildings, so you can, or not two-story buildings, but things with a little staircase. So you've got a second floor and a bit of height. Those are great for you to be able to see what's coming, probably be able to hit some stuff with your ranged weapons if you need to. Especially, I could see people just hanging out on one of those with the bow and arrow, just firing away, taking out zombies, taking out whatever's in the area, because they're silent. They're pretty quiet. The sound of an arrow buzzing by your head is in the game, and apparently it is pretty recognizable, but it's, relatively silent to hit or miss with the bow compared to firing a firearm, or probably even throwing a hatchet, or like some sort of throwing weapon of some sort. Very much prepper and survivalist territory. It would be good to read up on that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, but they've also said I don't know if they necessarily want it to be a survival, not that survival simulator in that it's all 100% of everything that you have to do in the real world. It's just enough survival to have to focus on survival, meanwhile having to focus on getting from point A to point B and getting materials and interacting with people. They kind of mean it to be a social sandbox game that just happens to be a hardcore zombie MMO. Is really my opinion of it. They've said already they don't want it to be a gun simulator. They don't want to have, because realistically there's hundreds of guns out there, and there's potentially interchangeable parts and ammo that you can use for various types, the ammo that you can't use for plenty of other types because there's so many different types of ammo. So it's kind of an interesting thing. They're trying to get as much of the survival elements as they can to make it seem like a survival simulator, but meanwhile they also need to have all of the social elements in, and all of the just general gameplay being really solid. Yeah. So variants of zombies, Diggs, you mentioned there. What are some of the ones that we actually know about? We've heard about crawlers. We've heard about ones that kind of maybe have a slump in the shoulder a little bit, and when they aggro on you, they actually run at you instead of just walking. But what else do we know about them? What other versions and variations exist out there? Do we know any more details, or is it pretty much just the knowledge that they want us to have to look at various different eye levels, looking straight ahead, looking down, looking up, looking all different ways, just to make sure that we're covering all the bases and all the places that zombies could be coming from. I doubt there's going to be zombies, jumping down at us from the trees. That would be really fucked up. Um, but there could be climber zombies, strong zombies, speed zombies, and strong zombies. Oh yeah, that's right, the strong zombies, the big old beefy ones. That should be interesting. And I mean, we've seen from the previous live stream that the kind of default zombie gets taken down in a single headshot, but I don't know if that's going to be the case later on, or if it's going to have multiple headshots. It might be with the bow that it does a lot of damage to animals, but it turns out they aren't actually that powerful against zombies because you're just putting holes in them. It isn't really, they're not bleed out or anything. Yeah, Jane, I got what you were going with there. Zombieverse. Yes. Indeed. Cool deal. So were there any other subjects you folks wanted to talk about here? We've got as much time as we want, but otherwise I might just wrap this one up a little bit early because I know a lot of people are already going out on their I guess 3-day weekends here, and yeah. It's an actual movie coming out with zombie beavers, I bet. Spitter zombies, well, what would they be spitting? Like, I guess you would need to explain the mechanics of that. I think headshots might be done in one blow. Depends on how proficient players get at that during early access. Diggs, yes. My answer is yes. People will be getting proficient at that in early access. People are already going to be proficient at it. It's just a matter of knowing how much the shot arcs, and you're able to hit whatever as far as you can based on the range, using the especially if you got a good high resolution monitor. The actual size of the character in the distance is what indicates how high up you need to lead, or how high up you need to arc the shot in order to hit them right in the head. Yeah. Spit infected blood. Yeah, I guess. Because there's been talk of players potentially being able to get infected and then either having a way to resolve it or otherwise. But from the sound of it, it's really only when somebody's dead that they can finally be turned into a zombie. So I don't know if the spit infected blood one would really do that much. I could see exploding ones that are kind of like one of those, like a dead whale, where the skin kind of creates this barrier that holds in the gases, and it keeps building up and putrefying, and then eventually it decides to burst at some point. And if you didn't already vent it one way or another, it's gonna explode and make a big old mess. So, if whales can do it, I'm sure we could have exploding zombies too. The first sharp thing or anything that hits them, then just nasty explosion, whatever, guts and probably bone fragments, everything. Ugh. Gross. Pain or hallucinations? Yeah, that could work. We're still not sure if they're gonna have hallucinations. If we're gonna have various altered states, they could do alcohol. Redneck Rampage did it. EverQuest 1, EverQuest 2 had alcohol consumption. I'm sure EverQuest Next will as well. But that's one thing that various hallucinations. Maybe we'll see. Yeah. exploding zombies. God, that's gotta be gross. I don't know what the actual effect would be. There's probably also like screamers that basically as soon as they've got line of sight on you, they don't move that fast, but they just make a lot of sound, or maybe they move fast and make a lot of sound. Um, Basically, they're there to be the alarms for all the other things in the area that hey, there's something here. Or even if you hit them with something, you don't finish them one shot, you can still expect them to make that horrible screeching sound that they make and summoning everything in a radius. Um, of course, that could also be something that players try to use for their advantage, is get in a vehicle, get two or three of those chasing them, and just drive through an area, rounding everything up like a one of those amplified zombie baby things, or amplified mechanical babies, I should say. Mutants, variations. Yeah. And I really don't know what direction they're going to go with that sort of mutation. If it's going to be more of that, like, lumpy, cancery looking sort of mutation, or if it's, if it actually looks like in this weird infected matter, another eye is starting to form or something. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much mutation would be going on. That would probably require them to eat a lot of stuff and stay alive a long time to actually have that sort of stuff go on. When players die, should they leave it and they get turned into a zombie? Should that zombie be a regular zombie, or should it be one of the big beefy zombies? Because it seems like it would make things more interesting instead of it being just some weak little thing that any player who dies ends up leaving behind a real nasty fella to deal with. Could be interesting. So, are there any other subjects in particular you folks wanted to talk about or discuss at all? I'm just putting it out there at this point. I talked about most of what I had to talk about for today. I think it should vary. That could work. Should it maybe be based on the type that kills them? Because that could be an interesting way. Then, if the tougher ones are getting more of the kills, then they're gonna get more of the more of that kind of zombie out. Fireworks and holidays. Mention decals. Yeah, fireworks and flare guns. There's probably not going to be a shortage of that sort of stuff out in those areas, especially that Route 14 area in particular. I know they love their fireworks up out there. Um, yeah. Oh, they actually said that? Did not know. Yeah, so I'm sure fireworks you're probably going to be able to use for a whole lot of stuff. Use them to indicate what's going on for other players, be able to use them as weapons, as distractions, lures, um, those light sources potentially. Break them down for material, use them to make ammunition, use them to make bombs, use them to make, I don't know, maybe you can make the tracer rounds in particular with those. Player spray tagging buildings. That would be great. There might have to be hard points where the players go and spray. I mean, if you could spray anything anywhere, that might be interesting. But I feel like it might have to be predefined images that are being sprayed, because a free spray paint, I would just imagine people going ganking a bunch of people, taking over all the stuff in their play or taking all the stuff in their place, and before they leave, everybody goes and spreads out and spray paints 10 dicks everywhere. So you've just got 100 dicks all over this little encampment that just got raided by the dick bandits or whatever. Check what out. You try to find it. Hey Shaker Jr. Don't want to bring zombies or worse, start a fire. It's dry out here. Yeah. Good luck with that one, hey Shaker. So yeah, whether or not they actually put fireworks in as an item between now and early access, because the game's not playable right now. Otherwise, they probably would sneak something like that in. But definitely they'll have in the game that we'll be able to work with. So that's really cool. Holidays in H1Z1. I don't know. Oh yeah, off random hats. Hey Shaker. Yeah. So yeah, holidays. I mean, for one thing, it's potentially going to be an accelerated time on a lot of the servers. There's been a lot of discussion about server rule sets, by the way. I haven't been able to check into that as much, but there's definitely been a lot of discussion going on there. So, with the different, what was I gonna say about the server rule? I mean, it's definitely something to check into. In fact, if anybody has a link to the server rule sets discussion, please do post it, because I don't have it handy right now. But for the that's right, the server rule sets. If you've got the 24-hour days, so you log in and it's the same time of day in the world as it is in the game, relative to where the server's at. I could see holidays working there and potentially being able to use a calendar system. But with the accelerated time, if it's an 8-hour day, if it's a 4-hour day, if it's a 3.5-hour day, I don't know about holidays, because then one holiday is actually going on over multiple in-game days, and it's kind of weird there. Thanks, Jane. That's awesome. I'll have to check that out in a little bit. Yeah, several rule set servers available for EA. That's right. That part I know about, and that'll be a lot of fun. Just seeing, I think they said upwards of 50 server rule sets at the start, so that should be really cool. But what they're actually going to be, what kind of features we're going to see with them, and with the discussion about maps, I realized maps themselves are almost like a server rule set that needs to kind of be addressed, how they're going to work. Hardcore, what they're calling hardcore is that it wipes all of your ownership and all of your recipes on death. They've got PvP versus PvE, military weapons toggle. I'm sure military weapons is going to be a lot of fun. That one's basically, as far as I'm concerned, going to be like the arcade version, where you're just going out and blasting and blasting and blasting and blasting and blasting and blasting and blasting. Yeah, guns toggle, melee and bones only server. I could see that. That could be a lot of fun. RP server. VoIP attract zombies and other tidbits. That could be interesting. I mean, I think that should do it anyway. World chat versus area chat, different hardcore rule sets, higher food and water consumption, tougher enemies or tougher non-players. Base destructibility, easy hard, not at all. Cool stuff. And they give the example of what kind of variations there could be there. This is actually, it's been around for about a month now, and it's been kind of a long conversation, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, Diggs, I know, but it's really weird that one day could be or one server could have 24 hours of that one holiday and have people get on during the daytime part to prepare, and then when the nighttime part comes around they actually have the celebrations versus um, if you've got multiple days a night going on during the course of one real world day, then where the celebrations are going on and how they're going on might not be done in exactly the same way. It might not even be as enjoyable, or it might be more because they might just do it however many times throughout the day and just celebrate it as many days as there are in the real world day. All right. So, pretty sure that's about it. I'll put the call out one more time. If there's anything in particular you folks would like to ask about or talk about or go over or are interested in, definitely put it in the chat now and we can talk about it a bit here. Otherwise, I'll probably be wrapping up. Like I said earlier, there was a good chance there wouldn't be a lot of folks on tonight, just because it's the holiday and people are gonna be, oh yeah, decorating vehicles. That's right. They actually talked about that. They said we're seeing just the crappy red cars right now, but when the game goes in, they'll be able to actually randomize all of the colors. So we might actually come to the same spot on two different servers, and what we see for the colors of the cars will be completely different. So that's pretty cool, and they've actually kind of talked about some of the art and customization. I guess they're actually going to have full-on customization with actual useful effects to it, considering the truck with the big old cow catcher on the front. That would be great to have one of those. Now, I'm sure that'd be the sort of custom things players would be able to pull off with enough material. Maybe it would be customization like PS2. Yeah, actually, it might be a bit of a different type of customization. Instead of, we're not going to be changing the engine type on it. We might be able to mount a weapon on some of the vehicles. But I think it's mostly going to be what we're going to be able to do to upgrade the frame, upgrade how it's reinforced, all of that sort of stuff. Thank you, Zach's Earth. So we will hopefully be seeing a lot of that sort of stuff, and that's actually probably going to be one of the things, not only the aesthetics coming out of that, but once you've got one version of the cow catcher unlocked or whatever, you might be able to have different appearances of it. Maybe not, because I feel like they're probably going to want to tie functionality to aesthetics. So if you're going to have an iron cow catcher versus a a steel one versus a steel one with all this fancy chrome and decorations and stuff on it, which I don't know why you'd have that. But um, that sort of stuff, or gold, putting gold on vehicles. I could see people doing that. And I don't know if shinier vehicles are going to attract things from the distance further, potentially just players. Plating, the same kind of corrugated metal that we've seen on the some of the walls and fences already. Just being able to put that on the sides of the vehicles to help reinforce it. Being able to put screens up over the windows to make sure zombies can't reach their filthy hands in. Make sure that things that are chucked at the car, like if a rock or a bottle gets chucked at it, it doesn't smash the window in and get glass in your face. So it's definitely, they're going to be putting a lot of thought, I'm sure, into what we can do with vehicles, because just like buildings, vehicles are going to be one of those things that people are going to want to build up and do awesome stuff with and really make it their own. So being able to put various customizations, maybe being able to design it in such a way that people can shoot out the sides and back easier. Maybe being able to, I don't know, having an open top Jeep that's a little bit easier to fire a bow and arrow out of. Though it seems like a bow and arrow out of a vehicle is almost a waste, just because vehicle's already going to be making enough noise. But I suppose a firearm's still going to be louder. Yeah, but the vehicle customization should be a lot of fun, and they'll probably put in a lot of features for that. Not just what kind of randomization for the vehicles they'll have in the game, but what kind of further stuff we'll actually be able to do to them and add to them. Set up a grill and start flipping deer burgers, you know it. Yep, have a crusty deers. Ugh. Yeah. That would be interesting, just having a food truck in H1Z1. Being able to get like a catering truck or an ice cream truck and just sell food out the side of it. And of course, if someone rolls up on you with the weapon to try to loot your stuff, you pull out a weapon and shoot them and get in the front and drive away. Bambi burgers. Yep. Bambi burgers, not Bambi's burgers. Bambi burgers. I would go with something a little more dignified, like the venison connection. Fun stuff. Oh, you like that one? Alright. So, SOE Live. I talked about it earlier. Going to be doing a player panel with Senor Blanco, who has been a guest on the show. In fact, he was on one of the earlier episodes, so pretty cool. Vinny's Venison Victims. Nice. So I don't know when the panel's going to be in the schedule. I'm hoping it doesn't overlap with any other H1Z1 or EQ Extra Landmark content. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The panel's going to be great either way. Live together, die alone. It's like I had said at the beginning of the show. It's going to be about kind of working as a group and the reasons why to have a group, how to form a group, or how to join a group. or I guess kind of really explaining why just being a total lone wolf, not involving yourself with groups or even interacting with them in any way, is probably going to be a recipe for a quick death for a lot of people. So we don't want people adding to the zombie population. We want people joining groups and making strong communities out there. So that should be a lot of fun. Should be quite interesting, and we'll, like I said earlier, hopefully be able to broadcast that from SOE Live if possible. They've actually got even better internet considerations this time around, so should be a lot easier to do that sort of thing. Alright, so I'm going to go over the list one more time. We talked about snow, we talked about maps, we talked about signs, we talked about wildlife, wall height, and we talked about more. So really, we've pretty much talked about what there is to talk about here. I think this is probably a pretty good time to wrap up the show here. It's been a little bit over an hour, but like I said, everybody's on vacation. It's been awesome hanging out with the folks in chat here, and I'm definitely going to be back next week with hopefully some awesome guests. And if not, then I guess maybe some less awesome guests, but probably some awesome ones. Conventions need to have good connections. Oh yeah, E3 is bad about that. Getting better, still pretty tough. But yeah, I've got these fancy stickers here. You'll also be able to find at let me make sure I can see what you guys can see here. These fancy stickers here, they've got the gorilla head logo on it. It's going to be changed up a little bit, but I'm going to have those at SOE Live, so if you come through, be sure to hit me up. Alright. Alright, so I am definitely going to wrap it up here. So, this has been Dead Feature Rant. I am your host, Legendary Neurotoxin, coming at you here every week with Dead Feature Rant, as I always am. And I will see you folks later.